Um, class announcements. Remember that this week the last forum post is due. Okay. Over a couple things. One, you're listening to and watching a interesting song from the World War I world. If you've listened to it already, if you haven't, please get into that this week. It's a very, very interesting song, one that will get stuck in your head. We'll try to listen to a couple seconds of it today, if the computer is going to abide. And then you're choosing, you're going to perform a quick search out there on the interwebs to find what you think is your favorite or most influential or most inspiring or whatever piece of World War I propaganda that you like the best. Does that make sense? Okay, that's what you're doing this week for that post. And then you're either putting a picture of that in your post or you're linking to that piece of propaganda that the rest of us can click on and see that piece of propaganda. Okay, so normal netiquette rules apply. Don't link something in there or put something in there that's going to be offensive, or send me off to some weirdo site where I'm going to get fired, that type of thing. Okay, so make sure that if you're doing a link that it's sound, and if not, put the picture within the piece of propaganda. Hopefully it's like a poster or something like that within your link there or within your post. Cool. So that's what we're doing this week. Try your hardest to get post and reply in by the end of the week. All right. And then we can go ahead and get that taken care of. What else is going on? If you remember our discussion on Friday, the material from quiz 4, like that stuff that we've been going over the last couple weeks, that's all going to be migrated and put into final exam. Okay, so the final exam will grow a little bit in terms of point value and stuff to make up for not taking that 4th quiz. Okay, is everybody kind of clear on that? All right, so everybody kind of knows what's going on and what we have left. Cool. I think that's it for announcements, unless you guys got anything that you want to ask or say. If you do, just type it into the chat, and we can get and I can answer those questions as we go through for today. So this week we have this meeting, and then we have Friday. Okay. Friday's meeting will be a mixture, kind of about half and half of, we'll finish up chapter 28 and the material in chapter 28. Okay. We'll kind of bring a close to the World War I era and talk about a little bit about the post-war era. I'm upset that I can't get into, the communists and the Nazis and World War II. That would have been fun to get into with you guys, but we lost those. We lost that time with that week and a half at mid-semester, and pivoting into remote. So it's okay. It is what it is. That's usually where this class finishes, is in that kind of post-World War II, Cold War era. But we lost that week, so it's not that big a deal. Okay. But I really do. I wish I could have gotten into that stuff with you guys, but that's okay. If you want to do that, I have those classes that if you're really into history, if you want to, enjoy a nice class with your friendly professor, again, sometime you can take an upper level history if you want, one of those electives. Thank you all for not laughing or rolling your eyes there. I only saw a couple eye rolls. All right, great. It makes me feel good on this Monday. So today, let's talk about some things that I want you guys to focus on for this week. All right, and I will type them into our chat in my normal all cap aggressiveness. So basically where I want you guys to get into, okay, reading wise, is pages 864 to 867, okay? So 864 through 867, all right, in your text book reading. Okay, this is where we're going to get into the final stages of World War I. Okay, and then the aftermath of World War I. There are a few terms in those pages that you've got to have a handle on, because that's what we're going to do for the second half of class on Friday. Is I'm just going to basically go through what's going to be on the final exam. Okay, I'm going to tell you what's going to be on it. We're going to go into what's you got to focus on, those types of things. So one of your big things this week is to come up with as many questions as you have on sort of the exam that you want to ask. Okay. If you want to talk about format, we can talk about format, but it's going to be the exact same as the quizzes. If you want to talk about what's going to be on it, make sure you do that. I will tell you what it's going to cover and those types of things. Okay, but make sure you come up with questions that you have. That's one of your jobs this week. Bring those questions to Zoom on Friday, or send it to me in a email Canvas message. Okay. There are some terms, big terms, especially on page 865, that you got to get a handle on for this week. All right. One of those is, what is the League of Nations? Okay. And what happens at this thing, the Treaty of Versailles? Okay. Or if you're from Indiana, Versailles. Okay. But in normal history speak, sorry, Liz, but normal history speak, it's pronounced Versailles. Okay. A place, the palace of what was Louis XIV. If you ever get to France, it's a must-see. All right. The Treaty of Versailles. Okay, what happened? Why is it important? That was one of the things that some people missed some points on the last quiz. When I asked you to describe why the Congress or the Conference of Berlin was important, some people missed some points on getting into why it was important. So make sure you're picking up on why the Treaty of Versailles is important. Like, what happens there and why is it important to history? Okay, because there's some really interesting stuff that goes on when the guns fall silent. It's always easy to remember when World War I ends. Okay, World War I ends at the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. All right, it's always the easy. They signed the peace treaty at 11 a.m. on 11/11/1918. Okay, so if you're ever quizzed on that or want to have some good Jeopardy information, end of World War I is a bunch of 11s. 11 a.m. on November the 11th, 1918. Okay, when that treaty is signed and the guns fall silent, basically, guys, what happens is this: is everybody, and I mean everybody, who's on the Allied side gangs up on Germany. Okay, Germany is blamed for everything. They're blamed for starting it. They're blamed for continuing it. And the Allies and the whole, England, France, Russia, to a degree, and the United States, just heap all the blame on Germany and be like, all right, you guys, and they start something and they make them pay stuff, as your book talks about. All right, they force Germany to pay reparations. They're like, not only are you to blame for the war, but you're now going to pay the rest of us money that they don't have. But over time, basically, the treaty writes in contingencies over time that says the money that you start to generate as your economy starts getting ramped back up here, Germany, part of that money you're going to pay to England and France and the United States and whoever else you fought in World War I. All right. And so people start, when people start asking the questions about where did the Nazis come from and what the heck was going on with Germany, why was their economy so terrible in the 1920s that led to somebody like Hitler and the Nazis coming along, you need to look no further than the Treaty of Versailles. The Treaty of Versailles crushes Germany. It crushes their economy. It makes them really resentful. All right. It makes them angry at the rest of Europe, and they're just filled with this anger and this anxiousness and this desire to get these people back for ruining us. Okay, so make sure you pick up on that this week. I'm going to narrate the rest of these notes that we have here. Okay, so I do want to go over a couple slides today, but the ones that we don't hit on, I'll put in a video for you to get on this week and watch before Friday, if that's cool. Okay. So one of the things I want to share with you right off the bat is from our forum post, all right, where we're going to be listening to a song called "Over There." Give me again, if I share my screen and you can't hear me, give me the thumbs down. I won't take it personally. Okay. Here's the poster. I like showing this poster to get Americans motivated for war, because look at these guys. Like there was such a romanticized glorification of going off to war that you don't get in World War II. But you get it in World War I. I mean, look at these soldiers. They're sort of taking off their hats and doing, kind of that old, sort of, meh, as they go off to war, as they're singing a song. These guys don't look like they're going into, a fight that they're going to be afraid of. It's like we need to go there, and we're going to go off singingly and cheer our way there. And the cool thing is that you get that song. Has anybody listened to that song yet or not? All right. If you haven't, it's not that big a deal. All right. We got the whole week to do it. But I'm going to apologize right now. This song is going to get stuck in your head for at least a day. All right. And you're going to be, you're going to be like, man, Egan, bleep, why is the song stuck in my head? All right. And I'm going to try and listen to just a little bit of it, and we'll see if it can come across as something that we can listen to here briefly. Again, it's as cheesy and as kind of old timey as it gets for World War I. I'm going to hit play here, and we'll see if we can't listen to a little bit of it, and then give me thumbs up or thumbs down if it's coming through.
Get your gun, get your gun, get your gun. Take it on the run, on the run, on the run. Hear them calling you and me. Every son of liberty. Hurry right away, no delay, go today. Make your daddy glad to have had such a lad. Tell your...
You guys hear some of that? Look at those. See, what you guys are going to be focusing on, look at some of these words and lines in the song. Probably one of my favorites is, make your daddy glad to have had such a lad. What a great line. All right. What a great line. Make your daddy glad to have had such a lad. All right. Tell your sweetheart not to pine, which pine is don't worry. Don't worry. I love that song because it basically is saying, get your gun and let's go off to war. Let's go over there. And the refrain that you guys will listen to is, we're gonna go over there, and we won't come back till it's over there. All right, and that's one of the cool things that I hope that you pick up on from that song. Like I said, it's gonna get stuck in your head for at least a couple hours. So enjoy. Awesome. One of the things I do want to just mention for a couple minutes here, if I can share the screen again with you guys for a couple of slides as we move through the slideshow. I do want to talk about some of the, I talked about this in the notes, and we talked about this the other day, women doing their bit, getting into the service of making munitions, getting into the service of the Red Cross. But here's one of the things I want to talk about today, which is wartime propaganda that's ugly and jingoistic and uber nationalistic and violent. And this might be one of the ones or some of the ones that you guys pick up with and talk about this week. Check this one out. This is a ad that went, all over the country during World War I. Boycott German industry. Don't buy German goods for humanity's sake. If I had $1 for every time I've heard in the last 6 weeks, boycott China, boycott Chinese goods. If you go to the store and you pick up the barcode and the barcode's first 3 numbers are, I think it's like, 319 or 36 something or other, that means it's from China. And, boycott Chinese goods and all this stuff. You get this from time to time in not just America. This isn't an American thing. This is a world thing. But you get this from time to time where people will issue boycotts and say, especially when you're fighting against another country in wartime. All right. Again, that whole buy American and buy from the USA, that's nothing new. That is nothing new. That's centuries old. Okay. Here's another thing that appeared all across the country in American papers. And you can see it says to German and Austro-Americans. And the German is crossed out and the Austro is crossed out. And it says down here in this news, this appeared in basically every newspaper in America in the time of the American Reformation. Men and women of German and Austrian blood, we ask that you remember that this is your country now. You owe no allegiance to any king or Kaiser, but you owe everything to great America that's given you your jobs, all right, your homes, your businesses. All right, you have been given a greater chance for happiness here than any other country on the globe. That's basically what it's saying there. This, like I said, history repeats itself with certain lines. Okay, there's a lot of this going on today too, and what it tells us is that not that it's okay, but that we've gone through things like this before, and we've made it out on the other side. Okay, we've gone through terrible times and struggles, and sometimes eras of xenophobia and scaredness and fear, and we make it out on the other side. You guys got to know that we can do this and be all right on the other end. You just got to think you're going to be a blockhead and know your history. This actually from New Jersey, but signs like this appeared all over the place. Signs like this appeared even in Cincinnati. And basically what it says is danger to pro-Germans. Only loyal Americans are welcome to this. Right? So you look at a little kid and go, and you look at your buddy like, you're not German, are you? And you ask, is your daddy German? I don't think it's German. And you can see how this would start to make people scared and fearful, and you get that ugly thing that's even going on today, guys. There are instances all over the place of people like calling their neighbors like, I saw this weekend my neighbor had more than 10 people at his house, and I'm going to report him to the proper authorities, and hopefully he will be thrown in jail for years for having a party more than 10. They were not social distancing. And you would report on people. You would send in tips to the American of my neighbor. His last name is Schweinfuss, and that's German to me. Well, they go to the house. And guys, the things they get. If you have German names or Austrian-sounding names, you would go down. Many Americans went down to the local clerk of courts and the systems and basically change your names. And so you get, instead of your name being like, Schmidthausen, you would chop off the end and be like, oh yeah, it's Schmidt. I'm not German. Or if your name was, Frankenstein, you would be like, yeah, our last name is Frank. Yeah, my name's Tom Frank. It's no longer Tom Frankenstein. So a lot of people were trying to, and you get amazing. Go back and look at the records of how many people changed their names during this time period. Check this one out. Beat back the Hun with Liberty Bonds. Check out that on that piece of propaganda. The German soldier, somebody has green eyes. Green eyes, like it's like staring at you with like a monstrous. The bayonet of his hands are full of blood. Ugly piece of propaganda. He's a barbarian. These people are back. Probably the more famous piece of propaganda is a picture of a German soldier, and then there you go, he's dressed up and he's a giant ape. Okay, and again, this is the time period of we're starting to get the first movie pictures coming out, King Kong, that type of thing starting to come out for time. And one of the things always, if you want to depict people as subhuman and less than you, you turn them back into animals, apes, donkeys, those types of things. You depict them as less than human, you depict them as animalistic. And this is destroy this man, and these soldiers carrying off everyone's just, whatever. Again, these are not necessarily the kindest images. And so that's the army, just if he can carry off any other women, do terrible things. Right? So those are pieces of propaganda, guys, that you might find out there. You might link to one of these, or you can find another cool one that you can pick up on. So this is good stuff. All right. I need to, like I said, get out of here in the next minute or two so I can get to another meeting. So you got our things that we got to do this week for Friday. All right. We got to read a couple pages. You got to come up with and make sure you got those definitions of the League of Nations and the Treaty of Versailles. I will narrate the rest of those notes and get them out for you to watch and to go through before Friday. Come with your questions on Friday. Okay. And then half the day we'll talk about kind of end of the war, post-war, and half the day on Friday we'll talk about what's going to be on the exam. And then that's it for the semester. All right. And I don't get to see all your smiling faces until hopefully, God willing, we reconvene on campus in August. Like I said, I'm going to give all of you guys, as long as it's acceptable by social distancing standards and CDC, as big of a hug as I'm allowed to give you. Hopefully we're allowed to do that in the fall. All right. So this will be posted later today if you need to get it and look at some notes, get some other things going. But if anybody doesn't have anything, we're good to go till Friday. All right, friends? Awesome. Okay, good. Thumbs up. All right. Cheers. I'll see you guys on Friday.